Indiana Hoosiers were dominating through 30 minutes. And then things got a little bit difficult in the second half. So, all right, Bud, where were you dialed into this one? Not like what's
decently. I think that like for the first time, an opposing defensive line actually got after this Indiana offensive line.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what's your rhythm to this game, at least in terms of like where you saw things start to turn and like when you started to consider the potential outcomes?
I really wasn't sure that Michigan had a chance to actually win it because of the offense, but Indiana was not able to put them away, and they certainly weren't able to extend the lead as they have done, like to really kind of run it up against everybody so much. But I mean, they finally kind of got beaten a little bit up front, which has been the question. That will be the question next week if Ohio State can do the same thing.
Yeah, this was, I mean, you come out in the second half, Rourke throws that interception, and like that was like the first play of the second half for Indiana.
Yeah.
Michigan had already had a possession, but then I felt like they got a little more conservative in their game plan than typically what we've been used to seeing from Indiana, who has definitely been a like step on their throat and just crush their larynx team all season long. They got a little not like turtles conservative, but I just felt like they didn't really, like they played a little scared. It's just not what I'm used to seeing from Indiana for a little bit. And then I feel like they finally started getting back to what they were doing all year long in the fourth quarter. It's just to your point, but it was simply a case of, oh, these guys aren't as easy to move out of the way. Like Nebraska was the best defensive line that they had faced all year before tonight. And Nebraska's defensive line has had good games and it's had bad games. And it had a really bad game against Indiana that day. And I still think, though, on the other side of the ball, Indiana's front had a pretty damn good day against Michigan's offensive line for the most part. Like Davis
That's a
Warren
good
was
front.
Yeah, Davis Warren was running for his life all day. And honestly, my biggest takeaway from that game was because even though they were getting it close, it was hard to buy in to the idea Michigan was going to come back and actually win the game just because that offense is so bad. But it just blows my mind still every week watching Michigan play, like that Davis Warren is a Michigan quarterback. That's, I don't know, man. Like Indiana got a QB from the MAC and Michigan has a QB that should be in the MAC.
Oh no, you delivered it better earlier. I liked it better when you said, I mean, Davis Warren at Eastern, yeah. At Central, fire up chips. Like
Yes.
Western, like that guy could be an all MAC quarterback. But
no. Also, I don't know what Michigan's coaching staff is doing a lot of the time. There was some really terrible clock management at the end of the game. Clell Mullings wasn't playing for a while because apparently they wanted to go with the hot hand because I guess he didn't have a great week of practice. It's like,
oh, and what? The 28 seconds that he let run off the clock when there was
before he called the timeout.
Yeah.
Like, what were you doing? Did you think that it was just automatic? Like the refs give it to you without you saying anything? It was just, there's a lot of stuff they do that's just kind of head scratchingly poor. Like like last year with Colorado, like the kind of decisions that they would make where it'd be like they didn't understand what they were supposed to be doing. I get that sense from this Michigan staff way too often for a coaching staff that had to fill the role plenty of times last year because Jim Harbaugh was suspended. You'd think you picked stuff up in that time, but I don't know, man. It's just, and then thank you, David. Challenging the Alex Orji fumble, bro, that was a fumble, like clear as day. I don't know if they were hoping that, like Gary and Brad were speculating that maybe they were hoping they could get like a targeting call out of it, but it wasn't targeting either. So
like to delay it enough to where they could review for targeting. Yeah.
But you wasted your review in the second quarter. So you had no challenges left in the rest of the game. Like, if you're hoping to come back and make this a close one, it was just bad coaching, in my opinion.
Look, totally bad coaching. You can get better at this.
Yes.
If you told me that Michigan was a player-led team, I'd believe you.
Yeah.
Like, because the players who are talented are still applying effort. You know what I'm saying? Like it does not look like a team that has quit. But
That's fair.
We'll see. What? Why? What?
I was just
Okay.
There's a couple of those out there.
What teams that have quit?
Yeah.
Hey, Oklahoma State.
God. That was not good.
Hey, can we take it to the Big 12? I mean, is there anything else on Indiana?
congrats on
Michigan?
being 10-0. That's freaking awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Congrats on beating Michigan. That's freaking awesome.
And just like for context clarification, Indiana's off next week.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State plays Northwestern next week. We've got 2 weeks before we get Buckeyes and Hoosiers. So, little bit of time for Indiana to just sort of settle everything down, and because
might be one less undefeated team by the time the night ends too. So if you're still 10-0, you got that going for you, no matter what. Utah.
Elijah.
Utah is Utahing.
Mm-hmm.
Elijah Surratt had like 2 bad drops.
Yeah, and he's had a really good year too. So
he's had a great year. I mean, there was some bubble guts, like just land it from where we were at halftime, Tom, on the halftime show, when we were like, oh, Indiana can pick their number. Like we'd been dialed into this game and Indiana just been kicking their ass the whole way. And we were like, oh, we don't even need to watch this. I do wonder, especially with an off week on the other side of this, if they just had trouble landing the plane in a way that should be totally understandable for a first-year head coach, a transient staff and roster, and a program that literally has not been here before.
Mm-hmm.
So you landed the plane, you get to reset, and then
it wasn't because the team was fighting.
Because the team was that's an Auburn basketball joke. Watch out, Gary. We're coming for you. We're gonna make enough college basketball references over the course of the next 7 weeks that we're coming for you. Watch out.
We should like a secret counter. How many I pick up on? Because I got that one.
Well, the idea that an Auburn basketball team fight led a plane to have a safety emergency is objectively hilarious.
What's the point of having a private plane if you can't fight on it?
Right.
Just keep going. And when you land, you'll deal with it. It's not like they're terrorists. They're just teammates. Just keep going.
Air traffic control. We have some bloody passengers. We have a situation.
Tape them up.
It's federal, right? Like if you fight on an airplane.
Yeah,
yeah,
probably. I mean, as long as you're not in the cockpit, who really cares? Just lock the door. Boys will be boys.
I mean, I bet you Pitt fans wish Eli Holstein was on a private plane tonight. They couldn't watch that.
Also, how big is the plane? Because I feel like basketball players are large, so there can't be a lot of room for fighting. How violent can it actually get?
Are we Wade boxing it up here on the plane first? Probably not, right?
You won't hear this on the Guy in College Basketball podcast. They won't go this in depth. Rank Illinois, Gary, you coward.
Okay, so if the oxygen masks fall, but the tube is used for strangulation efforts, is that then?
Oh, the irony of being choked out by an oxygen bag.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna let that do you in, then you don't got the neck to play for my basketball team.
He's choking you. You're trying to put the bag on your mouth so you can breathe.
Shouts to Gary Parrish, Matt Norlander, and the College Basketball Podcast.